quality assured films.
Welcome back to QA Films Weekly, episode 6. I'm Mike, and my pronouns are he and him.
And I'm Jon, and my pronouns are also he and him. What week are we in, Mike?
We are in the week of June 15th, 2020, which marks 13 weeks and 5 days since we've been in quarantine.
Damn, I lost count like 2 years ago. But, wow. 6 weeks ago, we started this experiment, I guess, where we check in weekly and let you know what's going on, both behind the scenes of QA Films and also lately what's been going on in the world, because how can you not? So how should we start off today? What do we got going on?
Once again, I'd like to check in with the news.
Roll it. Roll it. So what do we got going on in the news, Mike? Because it's been a hell of a week.
Has been a hell of a week. The Black Lives Matter movement continues. We continue to stand for it.
Yep.
We talked about our concerns about losing momentum, and thankfully it has not done that. Although, as we discussed last week, there have been plenty of people who have been trying to paint it that way. But things are going to get worse before they get better. Not that that's any comfort at all.
Yeah.
Just the end of last week into the beginning of this week, more murders have occurred. So I wanted to say the names of Toyin, Salau. I apologize if I'm mispronouncing these. Victoria Sims. They were found dead Monday. Toyin was a activist, 19-year-old black activist from Florida, who posted about her experience. I mean, content warning for all this stuff. It's really hard to listen to.
Yeah.
But it's really important to not look away from it. She tweeted about her being molested by someone who had offered to give her shelter, and then basically went missing and then was found dead, along with another activist by the name of Victoria Sims. That was Monday. Last Friday, Rashard Brooks was sleeping in his car at a Wendy's. Had the cops called on him, and as he was running away, they shot him in the back.
Like what? It literally in the middle of all of this, it's still fucking happening, which proves further that this is a fucking problem. We know this. I did want to mention, we shoot these on Wednesday. We should probably mention that we shoot these on Wednesday. They air on Fridays, and the reason I'm saying that is because some things may have changed from today until this comes out. But as of right now, they did charge his murderer, the former Atlanta officer, with 11 counts, including felony murder. So
I'm really struggling right now because obviously I'm advocating for rethinking of our justice system to not be based around punishment. And so I don't have the answer right now, but I'm just saying, since we've kind of been documenting our progress here, that I'm finding it difficult to call for people's arrest when I'm also calling for the abolishment of prison.
That's a good point, yeah.
I don't know how to reckon those things. It's going to take more reading to understand, but that's kind of where I'm at right now. There needs to be accountability, of course, but it's tough for me to say that that we should be arresting people when I'm trying to advocate for the abolishment of carceral systems. We've also started seeing what are suspected to be public lynchings that are being ruled as suicides, that are horrifically black men being found dead hanging from trees.
That is terrifying. You heard about Rand Paul. Fuckface Rand Paul. The only person that's holding up the anti-lynching bill in Congress.
I had not heard of that. That's fucked.
I can see why a lot of people like the idea of ignoring all this. I don't agree with that. I can see why, because it's fucking hard. Like, you hear this shit, and it is a toll. And imagine being a person of color, how much more of a toll it is. There was a video I saw the other day of a fucking little kid playing basketball, a person of color, in his driveway, playing basketball. You don't see it yet, but he just goes and hides behind the car, and then a police car just drives by. And then he comes back out and goes back to playing basketball. Because he's afraid. And
Yeah, unfortunately, I was reading through Twitter, and up comes a video of the cops had gotten called on a homeless guy who was sleeping in a bus stop.
Like a terminal?
I don't know what those things are called. It's like that little bus stop with a bench with a roof over it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Gets the cops call on him. Like a squadron of police in a line with with machine guns roll up to him, and they're like, "Get your hands away from your waist!" And he's like, "Why do you guys have machine guns out on me? Like, what do you want?" And they're like, "Stand up! Like, you know, put your hands up or whatever." And he's like, "Fuck you guys!" And he's on the ground, and he gets up and sits on the bench, and they blow him away.
Holy shit.
Like, horrific. I don't know. I am no longer hearing bad apple arguments.
No.
The Supreme Court this week, in a small bit of good news, don't get used to that,
Right.
decided to uphold protection against unjust termination on the basis of sexual orientation, which is how it was worded in the 60s Act that they were referring to, meaning that if you are fired for simply identifying as LGBTQ plus person, then you will have the right to sue your employer for that, for unjust termination. So that's great.
Wow. Yeah.
The same day, they decided not to look into qualified immunity for the police.
Right.
So hence me not being super pumped to give them a lot of credit. This is a good thing, but with the power that they wield, they could do so much more.
Yeah, it's almost like they were like, "Hey, we'll give you a little breadcrumb, a little win, and then, in exchange for that."
Yeah, and in that video that I talked about last week, that John Oliver video, he talks about qualified immunity. So if you're not sure what I'm talking about, that's a good place to start.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, the protections that we're talking about for unjust termination doesn't mean that it won't still happen. So I encourage everyone listening and watching to speak up at your job and ask them what is being done in your workplace to protect your LGBTQ plus coworkers and colleagues. At the same time, the same day, Trump, or maybe it was the day before that, Trump eliminated protections for healthcare coverage for anyone that doesn't identify as a gender they were assigned at birth.
Yep. Presidential fuckface at it again. Nothing surprises us. That's what I mean. Some people might watch this and be like, "Why are you guys talking about politics?" Or, this is not politics, unfortunately. This is life.
Basically, my response is that life is political. What happens in politics affects all of our lives. The way that we move throughout the world is based on politics.
Mm-hmm.
So there isn't really anything that's not political or apolitical.
I've been hearing a lot lately too. I don't know if this was part of because Trump ended up then signing some executive order a day or two ago where they're putting it's what you're talking about with the whole, hey, let's just try to reform the police. And I keep hearing this phrase being thrown around: incentives for not chokeholding people. Like, hey, we're thinking about giving incentives. Like, it's a fucking Barnes and Noble, and if I get 10 people to sign up for the card, I get a free day off. Like, fuck this incentives. But then I was listening to an NPR news broadcast about that, and they were saying that, of course, bitch McConnell, the fucking shriv that I mean this with all respect to people of elderly age, but we need new blood. We need these old thoughts and these old fucks to go away, because not only is he saying that anything that the Democrats come to the table with is dead on arrival, he's also saying he's for the incentives too, because the incentives are essentially saying, listen, policing is not up to the federal government. It's up to the state and your local people. Like, we can put some kind of laws around it, but it's up to you guys. So we can't just outlaw, which is what the Democrats want to do, chokeholding someone. Instead, we'll think of a way to give incentives and for good job, 20 days on the job without fucking killing someone by choking them. Like, fuck. Sorry, I keep cursing a lot, but I'm at my breaking point here. I'm sure many of us are.
Zoom is cops, everyone.
Yes, that's right. We're recording on Zoom right now, but that's true. What was it? What did we read? That they record this? Or, like, not essentially, like, they're sitting there going, look at Jon and Mike talking about shit, but somewhere this is going right now, unless you have the premium version, right?
Correct.
Okay. So
it's being shared with the FBI and the police.
Hey guys, stop fucking watching us and do your job.
Resign.
Even better.
All these good cops I keep hearing about, resign. Join the protests.
Yeah.
Publicly resign, and then join the protests and learn about what you can do to support abolition.
Yeah, don't resign in fucking solidarity because two police officers or whatever were fired because of that old man that was fucking knocked on his head and bleeding.
Oh yeah, that's the wrong reason to resign.
Yeah. Come on. I
hear what you're saying though about this being difficult emotionally, physically. To pull a quote from video that I watched from the Miami Herald that was for a vigil for Toyin. One of the people there was encouraging everybody to say, rest, don't quit. Rest, don't quit. And so I wanted to share that message.
I like that. Yeah.
I wanted to check in about us having tough conversations with people in our lives. The tough part is an understatement. As many people as I've had productive conversations with, there are equally as many who are unwilling to listen. I'm really challenged by that. Some people who I may not have been expecting.
Mm-hmm.
And I've already lost friends. Not like from this mortal coil. I meant like they are no longer my friends. And it feels bad. It's frankly depressing and it's saddening. I've been trying to rationalize it, and the best that I could come up with is the ideas that I am promoting are not my own unique idea that I came up with. I am attempting to spread the ideas and messages that I am listening to and learning from Black, Indigenous, people of color, people living with disabilities, people living with a mental illness, etc., from these resources that I've been reading. And I can understand that, especially we're here at QA Films, we're talking to the context of us talking about this stuff is in film and TV and entertainment media.
Right.
And sometimes if we're looking at something with a critical mind, a critical eye, the messages that get delivered through that media, as we learn, our views might change on those things. And so I've been trying to pass along that information when I hear it and help my friends to also hear those messages that they might not be hearing on their own. And a lot of people are very resistant to that, to the point where they're willing to end friendships, as disappointing as that is. And I'm only talking about this like this as a form of trying to partially work through it, but also maybe give some encouragement to somebody that might be listening to this who's also having these conversations, just to know what you're in for, and that you're not always going to succeed, but that's not a reason to give up. And I can understand the feeling of this thing that I like, I feel very attached to. And I don't really want to hear anybody say anything bad about it. And when I hear something bad about it, my personal attachment to it feels attacked, and therefore I feel attacked. And I want to just encourage everybody that the things that you like, the products that you like, I know it's complicated because these are both pieces of art and products, but the things that you like do not have to be who you are. Myself included. I'm working through this along with everybody else. Almost daily do I hear about something that I may personally cherish that is now bad. I'm oversimplifying, of course, but let's just say, for example, earlier weekly episode that we did, I talked about I started watching One Piece. I was really enjoying it. This week, I read a story about how the creator of Rurouni Kenshin, who the show you may remember from back in the day, the samurai, the creator of that show was arrested on charges of child pornography. He was then released, and he basically faced no consequences. His comic went right back into print. He started hanging out with fellow creators right away, and the creator of One Piece publicly defended him. Every day, I'm learning new ways that I can get deflated about things that I was looking forward to, or things that I liked in the past, or things that I might have fond memories for. That's just one example. But I get the reaction of, oh man, that sucks. That sucks. I like that thing, and now my view has changed on it. I'm not saying that you can't still like a thing. What I am saying is I think it's important to point out these things and be educated on them, so that when we are talking about them, we can point them out and not ignore them and put our blinders on and pretend they don't exist.
Yeah, that's true. And like you said, this was not your original thought. You found this information out. You're just passing it along. Even taking it another level, like even watching something as a child and we love it because our mind frame is a little different, and then we get older and we rewatch it and we're like, oh, wow. And it kind of like went over your head as a kid now, and then it makes you think differently about something.
I think it's important to call out these things out, because when we consume these pieces of mass media, they affect us subconsciously. They influence the way that we think and act. Think about how many cop shows have been produced, movies, TV, over the past 30 odd years that we've been alive.
Yep.
That have influenced the way that we think about the police. These things are important to talk about for that reason. And so I am finding it increasingly difficult not only to have anti-racist conversations with my friends and family, but also pointing out the deficiencies of media that we're consuming. There is a big resistance to that conversation. I don't necessarily have the answer. I just wanted to try to empathize, to say I personally know what it's like to have a knee-jerk reaction to finding out information that I maybe instinctively want to cover my ears about. Obviously, ignorance is bliss, but that's how we got here in the first place. And so, although they may seem like less important examples, they are examples of, in my opinion, things that we should not be turning away from.
Yeah, and I noticed too that a lot of, at least on my end, when I talk to people lately about stuff, the pushback I get is it's almost like they feel like I'm accusing them of something, or I'm saying like, how could you like something like that? When really I'm just, like you said, trying to educate them and not be ignorant about it. And it sucks because like some of us are set in our ways, and then like you said, you start finding things out about something that you've always cherished, and then you're the motherfucker telling me about it, so now I'm going to get furious with you, when really you should be getting furious with the person that ruined it for you, which is not us.
Right.
But yes, these are tough conversations, but we're not going to stop. And if it costs friendships, hopefully one day down the line, these people are like, damn, that dude was right, or that person was right. They told me I should have thought about it then, but one can hope.
I'm not going to hold my breath for that. I mean, I think it's a nice thought. I would like to think that. And I'm not always going to be right. We're going to fuck up. Part of this journey that we're on is going to be fucking up. And even though we don't like to think that, it's just a fact. The real test of our character is going to be when we do fuck up. How do we react to that? Do we react to it with humility and accept the criticism and make an adjustment and move on? Or do we lash out? And the point is to do the first one.
Yeah. That's the problem, though. A lot of people don't like humility. They feel like it takes them down, even though, in essence, it makes them a better person. Like, even with the white privilege we talk about, back when we were first learning about that, I'm like, wait, what? Like, a lot of people, wait, I have privilege? I'm born with it? It's not my fault? And then, as you start learning, you're like, it's not your fault, but it is in you, and therefore, now that you know it, what are you going to do about it?
You put that really... You summed that up really nicely, John. I'm glad you brought that up because that is exactly, essentially that's exactly what we're talking about, is that our white privilege allows us to ignore these things and not face any consequences for it.
Right.
And as you say, on the white privilege topic, nobody is saying that your life is not hard. What is being said is that the color of your skin did not make your life any harder, or one of the factors making your life hard was not the color of your skin. That is what is being said with the white privilege commentary.
Yep.
Just to wrap up that conversation, keep going. I wanted to talk about that as a really roundabout way of just encouraging everyone to keep going, keep having the conversations. I want to say don't waste your energy on people who aren't willing to listen. That doesn't mean that you shouldn't still keep speaking up.
Yeah.
But I just wanted to encourage everybody to keep going.
Rest, don't quit.
Anything else from the news that you want to talk about?
No, that's actually all. Another tough week, but progress. I feel like progress is happening, or it's in motion at least. So we'll see.
The only other topic I wanted to bring up is there is a podcast called Millennials Are Killing Capitalism, and they interviewed the founders of the 8 to Abolition website that I talked about last week.
Oh, wow.
So you can hear those people talk about the impetus to create that site in their own words, and they're all abolitionists with a huge amount of knowledge on the topic that do it every day. And so they're going to talk much more eloquently about it than I will. And so I encourage everyone listening to this, go check out that podcast. It's called Millennials Are Killing Capitalism. And the episode was about the 8 to Abolition website. We'll put a link in the description so you can just click on it. But it's not a slog. It's really fast moving. They speak very succinctly, and I think it will illuminate the answers to many common questions that I hear. And so instead of talking through all of that, I just really encourage you to go listen to that podcast.
Let's talk about a little housekeeping for QA Films and what's going on. By the time this episode comes out, we have just released our 83rd. Is it our 83rd episode or 84th? I think it's our 83rd.
Oh, I don't know.
Whatever. We're in the 80s, all right? Sonic the Hedgehog. Remember that movie? That came out in what, February?
In February.
Yeah, we have a whole bunch, as we mentioned in the last episode, a whole bunch of 2020 films that we've already recorded.
It'll be 83. Okay. Birds of Prey was 82.
Oh, we'll be 83. Okay, awesome. Yeah, Adobe fucked me over again for like 3 days. Otherwise, Sonic would have been out like fucking 3 days ago. But that's okay. They just had an update recently, and it seems to be stable again. And also, the mistake I made was I wouldn't necessarily say amateur, but it was something that I figured out. But keep an eye out. So not only is Sonic coming out, we have some other films. I won't tell you what they are because it's going to be a surprise. But they're great.
Sounds good. I'm excited. Talking about our dead industry.
Yes, I know. Once we run out of movies. Oh.
The perfect time to catch up.
I know, right? Well, like, one thing I was going to mention earlier, and I guess I'll quickly mention it right now, is just that The King of Staten Island came out on Friday. That's the Pete Davidson film by Judd Apatow. What? I haven't watched it yet, but I'm curious. He did a fantastic interview on Stern recently. He's been on there before, but he really opened up about everything. The reason he tattooed himself, all that stuff. So I'm curious to see this film because it's pretty much based on his life. And as you may know, his father died in September 11th in one of the World Trade Centers. So it really fucked him up. And this movie, of course, covers that. So I'm curious to see. And maybe it'll be an episode. We'll see. Based on Mike's reaction.
Yeah, Pete, not very excited by Pete Davidson, but no further comment.
Okay.
So, reminders. Subscribe.
Remember that thing where we know that you're watching? Or not? Leave a comment. We've said that before, so we have been receiving some comments. We thank those of you that are doing it. Of course, hitting the bell as well will ensure you get the notifications of when our new episodes come out. So do that.
Also, hit us up on Facebook at Quality Assured Films. And you can find us on Instagram at QA_films.
And we say it every week. And Mike, correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think we've gotten one yet.
Nothing yet.
Nope, but you can definitely send us an email. Let us know what's going on. As Mike's mentioned in the past, we want to know what do you think of these weekly episodes, or also what do you think of some of the films that we've talked about? Did you end up watching them because of us? Did you agree, disagree with us? You can do that at qualityassuredfilms@gmail.com, and then we'll discuss it and read it on the air here.
We're looking forward to hearing from you. So keep donating. Share if you can't afford to donate. Share the links. Keep educating yourself and keep taking action.
And this virus, every week I feel like it's just a broken record, but it's the truth. It's still out there. It's still coming back. The states that reopened are getting worse. I'm not a violent person. I don't want to be a violent person, but when I see someone without a mask in a store, I just want to punch him right in the fucking face. But I don't. But don't be that person. And you know what I want to see? I need somebody out there, somebody, please, or I'm going to do it. Take one of those old movies like Outbreak where they had the people in the full-on fucking glass shield protected thing. I want somebody to Photoshop that where the glass shield is under their fucking nose and they're walking into the room with Ebola or whatever it is and they're just like, oh, hello, everything's great. Why, people? Why?
Nobody wants to wear a mask, but I'd rather wear a mask than be dead.
Yeah.
Also, which I've said before, it's not all about you. You're also wearing the mask to protect those around you. What a novel thing.
Obviously, washing our hands, very important still. Still 20 seconds.
We are still in the first wave. There have been plenty of reports out that have said, you're right, we're not in the second wave because we're still in the first wave. Because nobody's following the fucking rules. So, we got a long way to go with this. Everybody's acting like it's over. The fucking businesses are opening back up. I drove past a bar the other night. 30 people on the porch. Nobody wearing a mask. Nobody 6 feet apart. I saw kids out on a fucking basketball court playing pickup basketball. No masks. Everyone's touching the ball. What the fuck are you doing?
I really don't get it.
Anyway, if you're going to a protest, please stay safe. Please protect your data. Please look up the resources that we have linked about ways you can protect yourself and your fellow protesters.
And our non-essential workers and essential workers, you deserve to be paid accordingly. You've been doing it this whole time, and helping a lot of us. So we appreciate that. We want to thank also the healthcare workers and volunteers out there. And I got a shout out to my sister Cassandra every episode. She is amazing on the front lines. She's a COVID-19 nurse in Virginia. So thank you. She was going to go to New York City like a month or two ago in the middle of the insanity. She offered to go there, but her job in Virginia was like, if you go there, you can't come back here because we need you. So she had to opt out of it. But she was literally about to go in the middle of the heart of the craziness. So thank you, and thank all of those like her that are doing this. I think that's it for this week, right, Mike?
Yep, we'll see you next week.
I'm John.
I'm Mike.
And we are
Quality Assured Films.
See you later.